This is RTV6 News at 6, working for you.
Indianapolis public school teachers will be stepping back in class even later than usual this year. Thanks for joining us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Nicole Griffin. IPS is pushing their start date back by 2 weeks after noticing an uptick in COVID-19 cases. Troy Washington is working for you to explain the change and the options that are available for parents this upcoming year.
IPS students won't see their classrooms again until August 17th, and even that date could change.
We've said from the beginning that we know, given the context of this virus, we need to be ready really at a moment's notice.
According to Superintendent Alicia Johnson, the district is watching trends to decide their next moves when it comes to keeping scholars safe during the pandemic.
We've seen the number of cases start to tick up. And so in response to that data, both at the state and local level, I believe it was prudent upon us to make a recommendation that we pause for 2 weeks, really in an effort to make sure that we are doing all we can as a community to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 and ensure that we are turning that line that is on an increasing trajectory down to a decreasing trajectory.
Parents will also still have time to choose virtual learning.
Our window for remote learning before today's announcement yesterday was the last day for families to let us know. We're going to extend that now that we have extended the school day. We had about 8,500 families who are opting for the virtual learning as of this morning.
Johnson and her team tell us they are just ready to pivot and move with whatever the pandemic brings. That includes being prepared for an outbreak.
Know that flexibility and responsiveness have to be our key priorities, particularly as it relates to safety.
Working for you, Troy Washington, RTV6.
Troy, thank you. The district is anticipating a shift in calendar dates. They'll revisit the topic during this month's board meeting. And one other note, we also learned today the Franklin School District in Johnson County is also pushing back its reopening date to August 17th. Checking now on other local school district plans for reopening. Anderson schools will start the school year fully virtual with the goal of returning to in-school classes on or around September 9th. The school board also voted this week to allow fall sports and band to continue on a regular schedule. Washington Township schools in Marion County will begin the school year entirely online due to a recent increase in coronavirus cases. The first day of school is July 30th. Classes will remain online until the board determines otherwise. Carmel students return to class August 11th. High school students will alternate between in-school and virtual learning days. Elementary and middle school students will be in person 5 days a week following a regular schedule. Virtual learning is available for those with health issues or concerns about being in school buildings. Hamilton Southeastern schools will begin the year with all children attending classes online. Virtual instruction will begin August 6th and will continue through at least Labor Day. We are compiling a list of Central Indiana school districts' returning plans. More are added daily, and you can look for details on our website, theindychannel.com. The state health department reports 17 more COVID-19 deaths and 855 new cases. That number represents the second most reported number of cases in one day since the pandemic began in March. 2,627 Hoosiers have now died from the coronavirus. More than 55,000 Hoosiers have tested positive for the virus. More than 614,000 people have been tested in Indiana, with 9.1% testing positive. Coronavirus cases are up 40% worldwide in just the past 3 weeks. Over 14 million cases globally, with more than 600,000 deaths. In the U.S., the debate over mandating masks and in-person school reopenings continues as Sunbelt states see record number of deaths. ABC's Megan Tavarizian has the very latest.
Today, the number of confirmed coronavirus cases rising around the country and the world. In the U.S., COVID-19 cases up nearly 20% from last week.
You have a choice. You can wear a mask or you can have a tube in your mouth.
28 states plus Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. now issuing mask mandates. And more retailers like Lowe's and Home Depot joining other companies like Walmart, Starbucks, and CVS requiring face coverings at their stores nationwide. This comes as states like Arizona and Texas reporting record single-day death rates.
I always wondered when I hear people say, I'm tired, I'm ready to just go to heaven, I'm ready, I could never empathize with that until COVID hit my body.
Florida logging several straight days with more than 10,000 new cases. But today, Governor Ron DeSantis encouraging in-person classes in the fall.
Kids should be in school. Their transmissibility, there's very little transmissibility. The chance of you getting infected is almost entirely from another adult.
But this week, 16-year-old Haley O'Connell finally leaving the hospital after spending 9 days on a ventilator.
For families going through this, it's awful.
Other states like California taking more precautions. Overnight, California's Governor Gavin Newsom saying schools in over half the state's counties won't be allowed to reopen in-person classes in the fall.
We all prefer in-classroom instructions for all the obvious reasons, social and emotional foundationally, but only if it can be done safely.
Megan Tavrizian, ABC News, San Diego.
The public needs to know that our police are there for them, and they're going to be the ones to answer that call that nobody else wants to.
Wives of fallen police officers, family members of current law enforcement members, and people from the community joined together today for the Hoosiers Back the Blue rally. Dozens gathered on the south lawn of the State House. Their message is one directly to law enforcement officers. They want them to know they have supporters. It comes as protests across the country have been held in recent weeks following the death of George Floyd. We talked with a former IMPD officer who is now a state senator. He says today's rally also focuses on how to facilitate communication between citizens and law enforcement officers in order to provoke change.
I think that for the police to know that they have the backing of the community at large is important. And I think that we need to be able to have conversations in the community about quality improvements at the same time. But to do that in a peaceful manner as opposed to seeing the destruction and burning and other things that have gone on.
They're here to help you. If you're in danger, who do you call? You call 911 and they dispatch the police to you. Who else are you going to call when you need help? Who's going to be there for all those domestic violence calls? There's going to be nobody to help you.
The two wives of officers that we talked to tell us it is scary every single day when their husbands put on a uniform and go into work. They say it's a good day when they come home safe at night. And the former officer we talked to says he believes officers need to put a real focus on community policing and building relationships in the communities they serve. A group of 5 passionate teenagers are taking their first major step today toward expressing their voices on issues that impact their lives. The Black and Brown Kids Youth Initiative was founded in June of this year. Today they held their first event to kick off their initiative by holding a peaceful rally downtown. The mission of the group is to inform our youth on how to express their voices, but the focus is also on getting educated on politics, laws, and their rights as citizens. They say it is critical that they become educated in order to continue to incite change and evolution for our country.
It's so important for the youth to get involved because we're the next generation. We're the next step. You know what I'm saying? So we're the next people that's in line. So I think we all should be educated.
We know what's going on and we want to play a part. As Anna said, we are the next generation. And once the people above us are gone, who's going to take the next step? Who's going to speak for the people who are never listened to?
The founding youth members age and range from 15 to 18 years old. They have spent the last month planning this event to develop positive, impactful steps to lead the youth today. Tonight, dozens of families with children who have been impacted by gun violence in Indianapolis now have backpacks and supplies they need to start the school year. Purpose for My Pain held a backpack and resource fair today at the MLK Community Center. The founder, Deandra Dykes, has personally been impacted by gun violence after her son was shot by a stray bullet when he was 13 years old. She created Purpose for My Pain to support other families. They were hoping to have a community day today, but with COVID-19, they decided to hold their first ever Purpose for My Pain backpack giveaway and resource fair. In each backpack, there were also resources to assist families with mental health issues. Something one man who lost his mother to gun violence in 2007 says is needed.
Growing up as an African-American man from the East Side, we never even have opportunities to discuss mental health. And that's one of the biggest deals that affect our community, and one of the biggest impacts on gun violence is not knowing how to deal with certain mental health issues that we have around us.
For me, I find resilience, strength, and hope by giving back to others. So no matter what I've been through with COVID, no matter what my family has suffered this year with mental health, and no matter the continued journey we are on with my son being shot and critically wounded, I find resilience and hope by giving back and supporting and loving on others. So I felt like in this season, how could I not do anything?
Deandra wants families who have been impacted by violence to know there is support available. There are support groups that are meeting via Zoom during the pandemic for anyone that needs that support. He was the leader figure in the civil rights for decades and often at the center of some of the most violent and most inspiring moments in U.S. history. Coming up next, remembering the life and legacy of John Lewis. Kyle.
And it's going to feel even hotter tomorrow. We have a heat advisory issued across all of central Indiana. I'll break down that heat index forecast. You're watching RTV6 News at 6.
This is RTV6 News at 6, working for you.
Congressman John Lewis being remembered tonight for his work in the struggle against racial discrimination. The legendary civil rights leader passed away this weekend at 80 years old. He was being treated for stage 4 pancreatic cancer. More now from ABC's Rachel Scott.
Born the son of Alabama sharecroppers in 1940, John Lewis was the youngest and last survivor of the Big Six civil rights activists who in 1963 planned the historic March on Washington.
Let us not forget that we are involved in a serious social revolution.
Lewis suffering a fractured skull on Bloody Sunday in 1965 as 600 peaceful protesters crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama. They were met with violence from state troopers. Elected to Congress in 1986, representing Georgia's 5th congressional district. Today, his colleagues remembering him. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi calling Lewis a titan of the civil rights movement, whose bravery transformed our nation. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell writing, "You did not need to agree with John on many policy details to be awed by his life." Awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the country's highest civilian honor, in February 2011.
Generations from now, when parents teach their children what is meant by courage, the story of John Lewis will come to mind.
Former presidents honoring the civil rights icon too. Bill Clinton writing, "John Lewis became the conscience of the nation." And Jimmy Carter saying, "All Americans owe John Lewis a debt of gratitude." President Trump ordering flags at the White House and all federal buildings to be lowered at half-staff, as is customary following the death of a sitting member of Congress. Lewis, an outspoken critic of the president, skipping his inauguration and first State of the Union address, often reminding people to choose love over hate.
It doesn't matter whether we're black or white, Latino, Asian American or Native American. It doesn't matter whether we are straight or gay. We're one people, we're one family, we all live in the same house.
Lewis spoke often about being in good trouble and said he wanted to be remembered as someone who wanted to help out. His final public appearance just last month, most fittingly, at Black Lives Matter Plaza in Washington, D.C. Rachel Scott, ABC News, Washington.
Our temperature's been hovering right around that 90-degree mark, but with the clouds around central Indiana, it's kept those temperatures from really taking off this afternoon. Still, though, it feels steamy out there. When we look at that dew point, it's in the lower 70s. We take those two numbers, put them together, and it feels like we're in the triple digits in Lafayette and Peru. Feels like 96 in Indianapolis, and with that temperature of 91 in Bloomington, it feels like 95 degrees. Satellite radar shows that even though we've got an increase in cloud cover, our rain chances remaining very low, just a stray shower chance at this point. Temperatures are going to stay warm. We are still in the 80s through 10 o'clock this evening with those partly to mostly cloudy skies, a little bit of a southwest breeze. And tonight, temperatures certainly not cooling off much. The AC will continue to run here, 76 degrees. We'll have several of those clouds around, but again, we're going to keep things dry as we go through the overnight here. So it's a warm start to our Sunday, and those temperatures will take off pretty quickly. Already the middle 80s by mid-morning. We'll find afternoon temperatures getting into the lower and even some middle 90s out there. A little bit of a breeze compared to what we've had today, but it's really just not going to cool us down all that much. A high temperature of 94 tomorrow afternoon in Bloomington, 93 in Indianapolis, and lower 90s around Muncie and Lafayette. Again, we factor in the humidity, and it's going to feel like about 105 degrees as we go through the afternoon hours. That's why we have that heat advisory tomorrow all across the state as we go from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock tomorrow evening, because even as we look at the forecast here, by 7 o'clock tomorrow night, we still have heat index values that could exceed 105 degrees there. Now, there is the potential for some thunderstorms to cool us down, but with that comes a threat of some severe weather. We've got a slight risk across most of the state here as those storms slide through, primarily for some gusty winds and potential for some hail. We look at TrueCast 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. We may see a few showers in northern portions of the state, but it's really not until late afternoon, early evening tomorrow that we see this line of thunderstorms coming together. Still not everyone's going to see the rain. I think the chance about 40% as those thunderstorms slide off to the south and east. 7-day planning forecast, we'll keep those highs around 90 degrees on Monday. We'll take a little break from those rain chances, but then I think the more widespread rain moves into the area here Tuesday and Wednesday. We certainly could use some of that wet weather, and that will bring those temperatures down a little bit, but it's going to stay on the humid side for us as well. Dave?
And I'm Dave First. Strange times for sure. None more strange, though, than trying to get football back up and going this fall in the state of Indiana. Center Grove, one of those teams, their story coming up in the Sports Extra Spotlight.
High school football workouts have begun around the state. The season is scheduled to begin August 21st. Center Grove is one of the favorites to win a championship this fall, all while the pandemic debate rages to play or not to play. Sports Director Dave First with the Sports Extra Spotlight.
You better get up early to beat Center Grove to the practice field. Trojan workouts begin at 8 a.m., but expectations for this group have seemingly come even earlier.
This team on paper is the best team we've ever had. But we had a 15-0 team that was pretty good, so we can't say they're better than them yet. They're all working on that today.
Head coach Eric Moore enters his 22nd season at CG. He returns nearly everyone from a team that went to the state finals last fall and firmly believes they can make it back this fall.
We tell our kids every year, with us coaching staff here, we got the map to get there. Just trust us, trust me, and believe in us, and it can happen.
But the question is, will they have that chance? Like so many programs around the state, pandemic uncertainty appears to be the only cloud in the blue sky of this offseason.
We take temperatures in the parking lot and make sure nobody gets on the campus that's, not well. A lot of hand washing. Kids bring their own stuff. It's like the Little League football days, except their moms aren't sitting around here.
Full group period now, let's go. Like the game itself, there are sides. Moore is a father, husband, son, and mentor, but also a coach that sees how hard his players have worked. Carson Steele is one of the best running backs in the state. Taven Jackson is a rising star at quarterback. Right there. There you go. Center Grove routinely cleans equipment. Players bring their own towels and water bottles, but the debate still rages at a higher level. To play or not.
I think pretty much all the coaches that coach, you want to be off or on. We're cold and hot. We don't. There's no warm in the middle. Let's either play or not play and be done. But I think we need to give this a chance.
At this point, there are as many options as a wing T formation, but ultimately hoping fall football doesn't become the fall of football.
The frustration about this is playing it out. And would you take only playing 3 games? Yeah, you take what they give you, but you want to. The thing about it is you can't keep young kids this age in this middle area. They can't concentrate that way. You got to let's go. Let's go to school and let's play football.
Playing out a season worth getting up for. Day First, RTV6 Sports.
The Earth Day Indiana Festival celebrating its 30-year anniversary at White River State Park today. The festival, which just wrapped up at 4 o'clock, originally had to be postponed due to COVID-19. There was live music, food trucks, a beer garden, and a Recycle Run 5K event along the White River. The festival space at Military Park allowed for a lot of room to spread out and practice social distancing. There were over 110 vendors promoting sustainability at the event, which is the primary mission of Earth Day Indiana, to promote environmental protection, conservation of nature, and sustainable living. Kyle.
And we're going to dial up the heat a little bit more tomorrow. High temperatures into the lower and middle 90s. Heat index values during the afternoon around 105 degrees. And then as we get into the evening hours, chance for a few thunderstorms to move through. Some of those could be severe with some gusty winds, and then temperatures come down a little bit in the week ahead.
All right, Kyle, thank you. And thank you for joining us. Have a great night.